Alright guys, so yeah, I want to change the chain, so I'm going to go ahead and change the sprockets on the Versys here. Might end up doing this in 2 parts because I'm going to try not to need to edit the video. So I'll do a removing and then I'll do an installing. Went ahead and picked up some Superlite nuts to replace the factory nuts on the rear sprocket to match the black. I just wanted to get black with black. Got a front sprocket. I went for the OEM 15 tooth front, and then I did a 44 tooth on the rear. Stock is 46, so I went down 2 teeth on the rear sprocket. The original owner of this bike, I believe, put a 16 tooth sprocket on the front here. I'm taking that back down to stock. I'm about to double check to make sure it's actually a 16 tooth front sprocket because it's hard to count it with the chain on here. So also got my little piece to connect my new chain. I went ahead and did the rivet style, obviously, and not the clip. I could not find any of these that look like they were riveted on this chain. So I'm thinking if he did replace this, he reused the factory chain, OEM chain on this. I don't think that's a aftermarket. Alright, so let's triple check here. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the one right across from the bend. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yep, 16 tooth front. So that's an aftermarket front sprocket. I feel that it's way too close. It's probably not a big deal if you change perfect, but it's really close to the guard here. I'm guessing that's some kind of a chain guard. I mean, it's maybe pushing a 1/16 of an inch from the clearance right here. So it's really close. If your chain's not perfect, it could tap or hit this. I don't see anything indicating that it was hitting that, but if y'all watched my video when I got the Versys starting problem fixed, I mentioned that I was hearing like kind of like a knock sound sometimes on the bike. It ended up going away kind of and getting better, I felt like. And I rode the bike for 3 weeks to work. I didn't ride my KLR. I rode this for 3 weeks straight. I never heard the noise, but if I try to intentionally do it, it will make the noise. So it's like if I give it a little bit of throttle and I completely let off, and then I open the throttle up just a hair, like not even, you know, putting any power to the wheels or the motor, just open it up a hair, it will like hit or something. So I wasn't really sure exactly what it was. I was thinking about the cam chain inside the motor. I might need to adjust that or tighten the tensioner. But then I started thinking about my chain. Apparently sometimes these Versys could be pretty finicky with chains, and they like them pretty perfect. And I did notice in this chain, like you can see it right here, there is a spot. Yeah, that's not bending like it's supposed to. So this chain can use a replacement. So I'm going to replace the chain, and hopefully that's going to fix the problem. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of start on this front sprocket. It's Friday midday. Kind of wanted to possibly wait till Saturday, but I decided I'm going to go ahead and get started today. I might need to go ahead and finish up tomorrow though. We'll see how much time I have. So get started on that. I don't know how much recording I'm going to do. Like I said, I'm going to try to do this without editing. If something goes wrong, I'm going to try to just pause the video and restart it. If something goes wrong, I might have to go ahead and do an edit, but I'm hoping I don't. I'm going to go ahead and give that a try. All right, here we go. All right, first things first, guys. You're going to come in here and use a screwdriver or something. Get this washer, little bend of it out. Just tap it out. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the video. I'm gonna tap that out, and then this nut can be sometimes really difficult. I've heard horror stories about people trying to get this nut off, having to cut it off, having to do all sorts of things, take it to a tire shop, and they're using like a huge impact to try to get it off. And some people just have no luck. Some people say it comes right off. Since this has been changed, if an amateur did this, or somebody that didn't do much research, if somebody put Loctite on here, it's almost impossible to get this thing back off because it doesn't need any Loctite. So I'm going to give it a try, and we're going to see what's going on here, if the guy that put this on either screwed me or they knew what they were doing. So I'm hoping they knew what they were doing, and I'm going to get that done. Alright, so I have not touched this yet with the impact. Took this little screwdriver. It's actually pretty blunt. I must have used it for some stuff before. Just took this 27mm socket and just lightly tapped in between the metal and the whatever it is right there. The washer undid the bend real easy. Took it out, no problems. Got it pretty perfect. Now I'm going to try to hit it with the impact, see what happens. Put a block in here in between the swing arm and the wheel, which I'm not sure. I'm not telling you to do that. These are cast wheels, so there's a possibility it could mess them up. I wouldn't think so, but just be cautious. So first try here, let's see what happens. Okay, the wheel vibrated right out of the wheel. Get that back in there and put something against the back of the tire. This isn't the biggest piece of wood, so barely fits in there. Let me stick that fan on the back of the tire, see if it might hold it a little better. I don't think anything happened. Here we go, it's coming. Alright, there you go. Came right off. A few pops with the impact, spun right off. Last person who did it did not put Loctite on it, so good. They've actually got it lubed up, probably like it's supposed to be. Sweet. There that is. I called to try to get one of these gaskets. Keep forgetting the name of this. Anyways, another one of these, and they didn't have one at the motorcycle dealer, so I'm just gonna reuse this, and I'll bend another side down. I don't think it's gonna matter. Should you replace it? Sure, yes, you probably should. But I'm satisfied with that, guys. I'm happy that that came off easy. Now I'm going to go ahead and let's get this back tire off, and then this chain should come up, and it should just slide right off. Cut this chain off, or I'm going to grind one of these parts off. I didn't grab any more tools to knock that out, so we'll see how that goes. If you're having any trouble getting this nut off, try to start the bike up, maybe even ride it around the block a few good times, get the motor nice and hot, bring it back, and immediately try to take that nut off, and just the heat could help get that nut to come off. Well, I don't even see that piece anymore. Almost looks like it binded together. So let's try to knock it out. Let me grab a tool real quick. Actually, all right. Well, I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know. I can't get that to look like it wants to pop out. So I'm not going to sit around and mess with it. I'm going to just cut this chain right off. And I should have just done that in the first place, but I thought if I took those down, it would just fall right apart. Apparently, that's not how it works. Alright, I took my time there, especially towards the end. I didn't want it to break and me come up and hit my swing arm or anything else, so I literally just held this still and let the weight of the chain and the cutting wheel do the work. But, alright, chain's off. I'm going to get this back wheel off. It's the same socket size as it was to take the front sprocket nut off, so be easy peasy. Alright, get this chain out of there. Maybe I should have taken this chain out before I loosen this tire up. Oh well. Okay, I got a new wall decoration. Get your axle out. Got a little piece of wood under here to help that tire up. I'll try your other stuff on this side. I haven't taken this tire off in a long time. It's possible that I might need to remove this caliper before I can bring this. Well, what am I talking about? Boom. So move your piece of wood out of the way, dummy. Alright. Keep my spacers on the right side where it goes. And she's off. I'll make sure this thing doesn't fall over here. Even though I'll probably let it fall for some odd reason. Alright. There we go. Tires off. Now I get these nuts off. Maybe clean it up a bit. Check my bearings and my grease situation, see if I need anything added under that, and get my rear sprocket on. We are well underway. My hands are dirty. Right. So my theory, I'm hoping my theory is correct, and that's the noise I'm hearing, and this is going to fix it. You can see these marks in here. See that silver where some of the paint on this, pretty sure that's metal guard has been taken off. That's where the chain's been hitting. A little bit right there, a lot right there, and right up at the top it's been hitting and scraping all the way down right there. And there's a little chunk, almost 1/16 of an inch, missing from the top of the guard right there. So it's definitely been hitting that. I'm hoping that was the noise and the problem. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and prepare to start getting everything back together. Got a little weird. So apparently you're supposed to oil these threads up. I'm going to put some on these splines too, with some kind of molybdenum grease oil mix or solution. I don't know how to say that word. I happen to have some of this Yamalube, the type of grease they're calling for. Apparently they sell this stuff mixed up. I just mixed 50-50 of this grease with motorcycle oil. Just put it down in this little cap, down this little area in the cap. Mix it up with a little paintbrush. You can kind of see how mine's looking. I don't know if we can see that here. Now I'm just gonna put this on here a little bit. I don't think this is probably necessary, but this is what the manual is gonna probably tell you to do. And it seemed pretty easy, so let's get it done. Probably don't want it. I'm just gonna cake it on here, and then I'm gonna lightly wipe it off. Apparently this probably so it stops any rust buildup and stuff like that from going on. Alright, so that's good enough. I'm gonna take, I guess I'll just use this and just kinda get some of the excess off. Just like that. That's good to go. Of course, on your sprocket, one side's gonna go out, the other side's in. It says outside, so put that on there. Another thing is you might want to get an OEM socket, front socket for this. I don't know if this is hardened steel. If something catastrophic did happen or some kind of wear started happening, it's possible it could wear down your splines instead of the sprocket. OEM might be soft enough that if something goes wrong, it might end up tearing up the socket splines and not the ones going in the motor. Just a thought, you might want to stick with an OEM front socket unless you're changing the tooth count on it. Since I went back with a 15, I could have went OEM, but I probably would have had to wait longer to get that. And I truthfully didn't even think about that until I was reading something online and somebody had mentioned that. So, it makes sense. Alright, so splines are greased, everything's pretty much cleaned up, sprocket's on the right way, got my nut going back on. Get it hand tight for now, and I'm going to continue getting stuff done. I'll take the rear sprocket off, and we'll get this one installed. Both of these are Superlite sprockets. Did I say socket? Rear sprocket. Both of these are Superlite sprockets. So, you know, I should measure. I'm not going to measure or weigh. I should weigh these sprockets. I'll go ahead and I'll get a measurement on the rear. Front, I'm not going to bother measuring. Maybe I should. Nah, I'm not going to bother with it. It's built almost identical. It's going to be very similar in weight. Alright, that's where I'm at. I'm going to go ahead and start on the rear. All right, let's get a weight on the OEM Sprocket chain. OEM Sprocket, 2 pounds, 4.1 ounces. Okay. Let's go ahead and do OEM chain. Three pounds, 13.4 ounces. All right. Superlite Sprocket. 1 pound, 8.5 ounces. Okay. Now I don't know if this chain is going to be heavier or lighter. Let's see. 3 pounds, 13 ounces. Okay, so that's not even a half an ounce lighter, so the chain's almost identical, and the sprocket's quite a bit lighter, which is front sprocket again 2 pounds 4.1 ounces, the new sprocket 1 pound 8.5 ounces. So that's almost a pound. It's getting close to almost a pound lighter. I'll do the exact difference later in the video, but that's almost a pound lighter, which doesn't sound like much, but especially on the drivetrain, that should make quite a bit of difference for the motorcycle. Alright guys, well I messed up. Not on the bike, but I shut the camera off twice, so it stopped my initial video I was doing. So this is going to start a new video. I'll either make it a part 2 or I'll throw it into CapCut and combine them together real quick. We'll see. Anyways, this is the second morning. It's now Saturday. I had some stuff to do yesterday, so after I weighed these, I stopped for the day, and it's Saturday morning and I'm back on it. So I did add a little bit of thread lock, just the smallest amount to the bottom of these threads, just for kicks. It's not necessary. These nuts are some kind of locking nut. They claim to only use them once. I didn't even know that when I ordered these. I just ordered them because they're black and I wanted them to match the sprocket. But apparently they're one-time use, so luckily I got some new ones. I do not have to worry about that. Alright, so we'll get these on real quick. Get them torqued down to, I believe I read it was 44 foot-pounds, and this one's not going on perfectly smooth. There we go. Still. Alright, let's go a little stronger on it because it's not even putting them down all the way. There we go. Alright, let me finish getting these down. Get my torque on them. I prefer to use this torque wrench because I've had a bad experience with the other ones, at least the cheap ones. So it's just one that shows the gauge here. I'm gonna put it at 44 foot-pounds and call it a day. Take everything to 30, and then I'll go back and complete the torque to 44. Alright, well, we're all torqued down. Good to go. I cleaned up the inside area here fairly well. Put some extra grease in there. And I'll do the same to the other side, and we'll get it back on. Alright, before I get this wheel back on, I wanted to show what I think, and what I did was this little gap, this little area back here in between the spacer and the wheel where the bearing sits in there. You don't want grease in here. Now, in the wheel, you know, I cleaned it up and I packed it full of grease around in there. But then after I put this back on, I cleaned this outside, the cover of the bearing, really well. I put the spacers in, and then I cleaned them really well. I put a little layer of grease on the inside of the spacer, even though it should touch the grease inside of the wheel in here, so it doesn't really matter. But I don't want grease out here because it would just accumulate and collect dirt. Also, in these slots right here, where your axle is going to go through on both sides, and the bracket for your brake caliper has a slot like this. You just want to make sure there's no grease all in there. You only want grease kind of in the enclosed areas. You don't want it to where it could collect. So just wipe those areas down real good and make sure there's no excess grease on that. I'm gonna get my wheel back on. Here's where it might get a little controversial. I'm going to remove all the factory grease off of this chain using this degreaser I'm going to use a different style lubrication for this chain. It's more of a wax-based dry lube. So, got this chain out, hit it with degreaser. I'm gonna get most of this factory grease off of it. Some might say factory grease is the best for the chain, but I'm going off the school of thought that it's just going to collect dirt and debris on the chain with that sticky grease on it. That's where I'm going with this. Alright, so I'm going to let that sit for a minute. I'm going to wipe it down really good with a microfiber cloth, and then I'll probably spray it again and wipe it again. Alright. That's done. Of course, that degreaser was made by the same company. I guess it's called DuPont. It's safe for O-ring chains, and this is a X-ring chain, so it's good to go. This is what I'm going to use for my lubricant, wax-based lubricant. I'm going to give it a light spray, both sides right now. Let it dry for about 20 minutes, and we'll get it on the bike. Alright, well, while I was waiting for that chain to dry, I went ahead and cleaned up the bike a little bit. Wiped down the swing arm, some other areas up in here. Did a light coating of the same lube on the front sprocket. Coated the rear sprocket, front and rear, front and back. Kind of got in here too with that dry loop stuff. I think it's going to be pretty good for that. Wipe down my wheel, stuff like that. Actually wiped down most of this with the product that I'm testing right now. Just started testing that for the KLR and this bike. Probably be doing a product review later on down the road on that. But yeah, while you're waiting for that to dry, maybe clean up the bike a little bit, lube up some things. This gets dirty really easy with the old chain lube I used to use, so hopefully this new stuff will keep everything a little cleaner. Cleaned my heat shield on my exhaust, and that chain's almost dry and ready to get put back on. Alright, so we got people walking by on the street, don't mind them. Got my chain put through, easy peasy. Got my tire moved up, tightened down a little bit to keep it in place, and we got plenty of room. Had to buy the link separately because they sent me the one that goes with the clasp on this one, so ended up buying the RK chain tool. I was looking at some cheaper ones on Amazon, but apparently, especially when riveting, those could be weak and break and aren't worth it. I paid a little bit more for the nicer one. So I'll get my link on here like so. Well, you know what? Get this grease open first. Alright, got some scissors. Now we'll tell you this in the instructions, so grease up your little post, grease up your O-rings, X-rings, whatever. Get on there. And get ready to press on whatever this is, this link in this part of the chain. Pop these O-rings in place. Real simple, guys. So far this process is very simple, easier than you would really imagine when you're thinking about doing it. It's not a big deal. Okay, go ahead and get this going here. And grab your tool, look at the instructions on it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get ready to press this side on. Pretty sure it's going to be screwed in there. This piece will go in here like so. It'll fit on there, and then you'll crank this down. Like so. But let me double check everything, make sure I'm doing it right. I'll get the wrench and give it a few turns and check. Alright, and I know when I keep pausing the video, I keep probably shaking it around. I'll have to see how that looks. Maybe I'll try to get better at that, but I'm not too worried about it right now. So this is the right way to do it. I'm going to go ahead and start getting it on. Alright, and I don't want to go too far, so go ahead and pull it off and check it. I don't know how much I turned it, not much, but I could feel it starting to slide on, and obviously it's not even close. So we'll get it on there again. Don't want to overdo it. Okay. Just starting to go in. Okay. Alright, so just keep doing this, take your time, and keep checking it. I thought it slid on pretty quick that last time. That's why I backed it out and checked it again. But I'm going to do this till it's on, and I'll start recording. Alright, I think that does it. I probably took this on, off and on, I don't know, 7 to 10 times. I could tell with my eyes that it's close, very close. And then you can get any object you want. I don't have feeler gauges. I'm sure they're only $10 on Amazon. I don't think it's that serious. You could get something, touch that lip, put your finger against where the chain is, and that's super close. I also took this, put it at a certain spot, checked them, and it's very close. So spot on, still has good movement. Now I'm gonna pop on the one that mushrooms out the rivet like that, and read the directions real quick, make sure I have it all like it's supposed to be, and we'll get these rivets mushroomed out and we'll be good to go to get the tire completely locked back on. Not obviously, but you know, during this part, this is only hand tight. This nut right here for the front sprocket is only hand tightened. Of course, the rear sprocket was all torqued down. Once it's all put back together, and I'm going to drop it, I'm going to set the chain tension, or possibly drop it, then lock this wheel back out, tighten my front nut, bend over the washer, the lock washer, and then I'll probably set the back tire, the chain tension. Looks pretty loose. Hopefully when I get this back a little bit more, which it should, it's the, I think 114 chain link chain, so it should be the OEM amount. We should be good to go. Let me get that mushroomed out and we'll get the rest tightened up. Alright, so here's something I didn't think too much about, and I might have messed up a little bit. So I'm getting this on here, I'm looking at the chain and it looks fairly slack, and here's where I didn't mess with these. This was where my last block was, up here, for that chain to be perfectly tight. As you can see, dang near half an inch back further right now, and that's probably around about where the chain's going to need to be tight. And then if it stretches much, it's just going to get back further and back further, which I don't like. I would have much rather it been about the same spot. So I don't know if I should have ordered a chain one link shorter than the stock link. From a little bit of research I did before I got this, people were saying the 44 tooth rear sprocket was minimal difference between the 46, which is the OEM, almost not even measurable. You wouldn't even, can barely notice it. That was clearly a lie. You could see there's a huge difference. Obviously, I guess I should have done more research on that. Some other people, I think I read that they just used the 14 link with the 44 sprocket and it was fine. I seen a guy on YouTube, I think he's using the same setup, but he's back here on the fourth line, which is just too far back from the get-go. That stock chain had probably already stretched a little bit, and like I say, you could see how much further up it was. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stick with this. I'm not going to pull it back off. I'm not going to cut off a link. I already got that pressed on. You know, this might, you know, make it more stable on the freeway or something like that, but it's gonna also make it less maneuverable. You might not be able to tell, but it's gonna make it harder for the bike to pull up into wheelies. It's gonna make it less maneuverable since, you know, it's stretched longer. But it is what it is. Let's go look at a graph that I just pulled up real quick online, because if necessary, I was thinking about pressing this back off, cutting the link out. I would hate to do that and then it'd be too short. So you're gonna have to do your own research on that, figure out what you like and what you think is gonna work for yourself. Alright, here's a little graph that's on at KawasakiVersys.com. Shows you the different front and rear sprocket sizes with the chain link count, and then some other ratios and links and whatever, and gives you kind of a description of what it might do. Poor rear wear, excellent choice, ratio a little low, you know, all that stuff right there that you can see. The one I put on is the 15-44-114. It says it's a good choice for stock wear, so it's going to wear like the stock does. But like I was saying, it is going to stretch, you know, the distance of the wheels out and possibly make it harder to pull a wheelie if you want, and possibly make the maneuvering a little slower. That being said, it is a 44 tooth versus the 46 OEM, so it's going to give a little bit more down low pull than what I was running before, which was the 16 tooth front sprocket. So hopefully it all just even out and I won't tell any difference, or it could still be slightly better in the pulling a wheelie type of stuff, just from the 2 tooth less on the rear sprocket. So maybe it even itself out. I don't know, but I'm going with that. Make your own decision. There you go. Alright guys, back out in the garage. I think I gave some wrong information. I might have said that this is going to give more torque or horsepower or low end whatever than stock. That's incorrect. This is going to be less than stock, but more than what it was since I've owned this bike. It's going to be a little bit more than the 16 tooth front sprocket and the 46 rear, with the 15 front and the 44 rear. It's going to give me a little bit more of that low end power and a slightly less freeway speed, lower RPMs, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's still going to be lower than stock, but more than what it was. So let's go ahead and get this on. Still got to do my rivets, and let's get it done. Oh, also, video messed up again because my battery died, which instantly stopped my recording, since I was recording and pausing to keep it at a continuous shot. It went ahead and killed my battery and stopped me from doing that. So I probably will go ahead and throw it in CapCut and connect these videos together. Alright, let's get it done. Alright guys, I don't think my camera's going to pick it up very good, but I'm done with that one. I could definitely see a difference between this rivet and that rivet. The center hole is wider on this one than this one, and it looks fairly perfect, and definitely flared out more than the other one. I didn't go crazy on it. Went about, I don't know, I tried it a few times, pulled the tool off, wasn't doing much, so I kept going a little bit more and a little bit more. This last time I pulled it off, it looks, I think, like it's supposed to look. They show you in this what a good one looks like, what a bad one looks like. blah, blah, blah. But anyways, I'm going with that. Looks good. I'm going to go ahead and get this one done. Now that I've done the first one, I'll go ahead and try to do this one on camera. So, to get the twill on the right, I just kind of push it against the front until it pops in. Get the back lined up. Now that I kind of hopefully have a little bit of a feeling for it, I'll go a little bit more. Like before I would have popped it off. Now, done it again. I'm gonna pop it off now, and let's see. Alright, I can definitely tell it's not there. Get the front on, line the back up. Okay, once it gets fairly tight, I just go one more quarter turn past fairly tight. Let's check it. What do we think? This one looks more flared, so not quite there, even though it's slightly flared. Okay. Okay, check that. It's getting there. I'm maybe just a hair more. Okay, it's very close. I am going to do it a hair more. Get it tight and then right there. That was me tapping the chain against the exhaust. And that should be it. Clean off any grease or whatever so I can see it better. They look more identical now, and I think that that's perfect. Alright, there it is, done. So, still nice and flexible. Pins are in, flared out, good to go. Alright, get the rest of this tightened up. Alright, everything's pretty much hand tight. My little lock washer on my rear, hand tight. This bolt's hand tight. Nothing's actually locked into place. Chain's close to where it's going to be. I'm going to go ahead and bring the bike down, see if that will give me enough pressure on the rear tire to go ahead and torque the front nut for the front sprocket. Get the bike down. Alright. Now, let's see. From what I read, I think this is... Oh, see, the bike's just wanting to roll. So let me put something behind the rear tire. See if that'll do it. You know what? Let's get this over there. No idea if that'll hold it. Let's see. I might need someone to come out and hit the rear brake for me. So I think it said 92, if I remember correctly. So that's what I'm going to torque this down to. Alright. I guess I could. Well, there were things in the way for me to jam something in the rear tire like I did to loosen it. There was the brake line and some other little line, so I don't want that wood hitting that. I'm gonna see if I get somebody out here to hit the brake for me. All right, wife's holding the rear brake. Let's see if that'll give me enough. Where am I going? 60, 80. I'm going there. Okay. Get in the way of the camera here for a second. Okay. Right there. The seat's kind of in my way. My Versys hitting it. That was it. I'm gonna hit it one more time. Down to 90. See that? 60. That's it. I'm sure it's caught. All right. That's torque to 90. 90 to 92. All right, we're good. All right. Do this top area, use the screwdriver. I already took one, stuck it in between, just tapped it a few times with the socket. The screwdriver actually has a little notch in it, so set that notch right on that lip. Even though I don't want to cut into this, so maybe I could get something different real quick. Just because it's starting to notch the top of it, let me get something else and see if it might work. Alright, so I grabbed this, stuck it in there, gave it a couple taps, bent it down a little bit more. I'm going to use this punch, now stick it on the lip, bring it up as high as I can before I could hit my thing here, frame. Let's see if this doesn't work to tap it in. Alright, it's folding it over. Try the screwdriver now that it's bent. So, there you go. I'm just using a few different tools. Had this one in there to get it further away. I'm noticing in bed, you gotta be careful you're not damaging the socket or sprocket back there. Alright, this seems to be working the best. We're almost there. It's already on it. It's already there. I'm just going to give it a couple more on each corner. Another little tap in the middle. It's there. Just going to do a few more for good measure. Alright, I don't know if we could see that on video, but here we go. Folded it over. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get this chain to the proper tension. And we are pretty much things buttoned back up, tightened down. Rear nut tightened down to 80 foot-pounds. Cotter pin put back in. Things, lock nut, lock washer bent over. Chain's tight, probably a little on the loose side. I like it kind of on the higher end. I'm going to put my covers back on, take it on a test ride, see what it feels like with the 15 OEM 15 tooth sprocket on the front, 44 tooth sprocket on the rear. Can't wait to see what it feels like. Got the new chain, and see if it fixed that problem, see if that noise it was making, that clunk, was the chain or is there something else going on. But I'm gonna go on a test ride real quick before it starts raining and get back and finish this up. All right, well, there it is, put back together. Just got back from a test ride, and the noise is not fixed, but I think I know what it is. I think it's exactly what I thought it was from the beginning. When I fixed the starting issue with this bike, took it out on a test ride, and I was hearing a noise. I thought it might have been the exhaust, and that's what I'm thinking that it is. Technically, truthfully, I would rather have a silver chain than a gold chain, but from the stuff I looked up, apparently this chain fights corrosion a little bit longer than the raw chain or the silver type chain. But everything seemed good with the new chain and sprocket. I didn't feel any issues. I actually came back because I was kind of bummed out that the noise was still there. I could still make the noise. So I didn't take it on a proper test ride and do too many tests with the new 44 tooth rear sprocket and the OEM 15 in the front. From what I did do, it felt like about the same. I'll take it out and I'll do another test later on, and I'll talk about that in a different video. But let me show you what I... Alright, so I don't know if we'll be able to hear it that great on camera, but let's see. Oh, where's my key? By the way, the starting has been perfect ever since I got it figured out. Cranks right up. Alright, we can hear that noise. I think that's going to be the noise that I keep hearing, and I thought it did sound like an exhaust kind of pop noise. So good. I'm glad that I think that's what it is. At least there's nothing going on in the motor with the clutch or anything. So all in all, I'm satisfied. Just going to call it that's the issue. I don't know if it's going to figure itself out or that's just a characteristic of this exhaust, but no big deal. Alright guys. Alright, well, that's going to be it for the sprocket change video on the Versys. Got the misters on. They're on a timer, so they're randomly on. Hopefully they're not too loud. Like I just showed, I think that noise is the exhaust, so good to go on that. I'm going to go ahead and get some other little new knickknacks for the Versys, clean it up a little bit. I did a few things. I straightened out the handlebars. I'll do another video on that anyway. I got the handlebars now straight. I painted the mirror risers. I'm probably going to put some other new things on it. And get some riding on that bike. New sprockets, chain, felt good. I'll do a ride review on it later. But that's going to be it for this video, guys. Alright, later.